Hi and welcome to Across the Desk. This week we're going to talk about how our congressional leaders that are in Washington, along with our two senators, can't seem to stop the Chicken Little oh no the sky is falling routine on everything from the border wall to the Afghanistan withdrawal to having to increase the debt limit, as you can see from James Langford's scary graphic. Oh no, we've only got one day left. What shall we ever do? And that's where we are this week on Across the Desk. So, Republicans, they're out of power. And they want that power back. Of course, one thing is, if you're like James Langford, you've lost a lot of credibility when you try to jettison the Republic and the Constitution in a fit of treason. So you get on every news show and wacky job thing you can do to just get your name out there. Like you didn't do before. You didn't notice him before January 5th. He was hardly ever out there. And he's not the only one. The others, Tom Cole, oh my God, look at this graphic. Oh, no blank check. Oh, it's so scary graphic to scare his people into giving him money and sending him votes. That's what it's about. It's about conservatives being cowards, like Tom Cole. I mean, come on, man. I know the guy served in the armed forces, but that still doesn't make him any less of a coward when he does stuff like this. Or Jim Inhofe. Come on, man. Really, that guy's the biggest partisan hack there is. And he's crying every day about, we're going to go after Biden because we want to know what happened in Afghanistan. That's why we're doing this. No, it isn't. That's not why he's doing this. It's to raise a political profile. It's to harm Joe Biden and bolster Republican prospects. That's what it's about. It's about playing politics with Jim Inhofe, and he's using the systems in our Congress and ways they do business in order to do it. And that's what he's doing. And he's doing it in a cowardly way. He comes out with his cowardly post crying about it. And that's what he does. That's what great grandpa's been doing. That's what he's been doing. He does it with this. He's doing it with that too. You know, and so it's not just James Langford, who I think is one of the biggest cowards in Congress right now, is James Langford. I mean, this guy's a total he must pee himself constantly. Look at the stuff he puts out. I mean, just the scary stuff. We're going broke, and Democrats won't do anything. Well, actually, it's not the Democrats. It's a big lie, because the Democrats are the ones who want to raise the debt ceiling. It's not the Republicans who are causing this crisis. It's not the Democrats who are doing it. It's the Republicans who are inventing this crisis and then trying to blame the Democrats, saying, well, if they're spending, that's the crisis. But really, raising the debt ceiling has to do with appropriations that have already been passed and agreed to pay for. So this is Republicans being Republicans. I mean, how Republican can you be to order a bunch of stuff, have a bunch of contractors do a bunch of work for you, and then just refuse to pay them? I mean, really, there's really nothing more Republican than that, or conservative. So it kind of falls in line with what they're doing, I think. And so that fits in with their values, doesn't it? Those conservative values of let's just not pay our bills, and that's what we're getting out of this. Because that's exactly what they want to do. And then they want to blame it on Democrats. See, that's what they want to do. They want to blame it on Democrats so that they can make themselves look better. That's how they want to do. They think they're going to gain votes that way and make themselves look politically better. This is their whole plan. And it's kind of gross when you look at it. Because what they're really doing is they're taking our economy and putting it at risk so that they can get policy and decisions they want. This isn't policy making. I say this to people all the time. What they're doing isn't policy making by taking our economy and putting it at risk. Well, man, if you don't do what we want, we're going to put your economy at risk by just not passing the debt ceiling. Then our military personnel won't get paid, postal service won't run, or those people will get paid. A lot of things won't happen. Social Security, it'll cause a big headache, and it'll harm our economy. It will. It'll slow it down to a much great pace, and it will end up harming our economy if the Republicans do what they want to do. So that's what they're doing. They're taking our economy and they're using it as a political pawn in this game of policy that they're trying to do. Because what they're doing isn't policy making. It's actually hostage taking. That's what they're doing. They're taking our economy hostage in order to get policy they want or not want. See, they don't want Democrats to do this big infrastructure spending on a $3.5 trillion over 10 years. That's $350 billion a year. So Republicans are against that. They're totally against it. So in order to force Democrats to their will, they're willing to put our economy at risk and hold it hostage in order to get their way. That is not policy making. That's actually not even how our republic is supposed to be run. It's not. These are Republicans doing whatever they can in any way they can to harm the country since they're not in charge of it. So that's how they feel about it. If they're not in charge of it and they can't run it, well, we shouldn't have a country. And so that's how they feel about it. So right now, when they do this is borderline treason to me. It's not. What is treason is actually trying to jettison the republic and throw away the Constitution like James Lankford tried to do January 6th. It's not that. It really doesn't go to that level. I think it's gross. I think it's totally un-American. I don't think it helps America at all to not raise the debt ceiling. As a matter of fact, it's going to harm us. The only thing that not raising the debt ceiling helps is the Republican Party. That's exactly what that's designed to do. It's not designed to help America or the citizens. It's supposed to help a party. And that's exactly what that's designed to do by going at not raising the debt ceiling. It also creates a crisis because here we are, we created a manufactured crisis because Republicans are refusing to raise the debt ceiling. And the way they're doing it is so dishonest by saying, hey, well, Democrats want to spend all this money and we don't want to let them. Well, one, it's dishonest because raising the debt ceiling has to do with bills and appropriations that have already been passed. It's not on future money. It isn't. It doesn't have anything to do with future money. It has to do with money that's already been spent, that's already been approved by Republicans and Democrats, both chambers of Congress, signed in by the president. That's what we're trying to pay for. And Republicans refused to do it. When they were absolutely for raising it the 3 times, Trump wanted it raised. They had no problems with it. Democrats did it, and we never made an issue out of it. But now it's a big issue. Why is it a big issue? Because Republicans want to cry about it. Because Republicans are cowards. That's what this all boils down to. People like Tom Cole, Jim Inhofe, and James Lankford are crying like pansies. And they're doing this on public TV. And I don't know why they think this is a good idea to get votes. To cry? Those mean old Democrats. I don't see how that gains them votes. Is it a sympathy thing they're trying to go for now? Because here I thought they were supposed to be all real tough, Punisher and all this stuff. But here they are crying and whining about them Democrats, And it's kind of a funny thing because really, Jim Inhofe puts this deal out saying they're trying to push their agenda. The Democrats are trying to push their agenda. How dare they? All they did was, win enough votes to get all the representatives in there to control both chambers of Congress. So the voters put them in there. The voters actually have given them the power to do stuff. So why would they not want to push their agenda? Jim Inhofe, great-grandpa, doesn't want them to push their agenda. As a matter of fact, it makes him cry. It makes him cry a lot because it scares him. Because see, Democrats scare him. And he hates them. He can't stand them. He'll do anything he can to do them harm. If he can do it through the powers of government, he would do it. If it harmed liberals and Democrats, he would do it. He would pass laws that would harm them, just to harm them, because he doesn't like them. Fellow American citizens, that's Jim Inhofe. He would definitely do it. One of the most corrupt members in Congress. Now, really, I haven't called Jim a traitor. I don't really think he is a traitor because, one, when it came out with the January 6th thing, one of my pieces of evidence that James Lankford is such a traitor is he came out and said, I think states get to decide who the electors should be, and sending them back like James wants to do is unconstitutional and illegal. So that's actually what Jim Inhofe said. He actually had the balls to say that. So I'll give him credit for that. Okay, he's not a traitor there. But this is just pure cowardly because he's playing total partisan politics. And then blaming that the Democrats are playing partisan politics. Talk about liking to dish it, but just doesn't have the will to take it. Kind of cowardly conservatism that comes out of Jim Inhofe. And he may not be a traitor, but he is definitely corrupt. I mean, when you go after people at the FAA because you landed on the wrong runway and you scared the shit out of them doing it, and then you forced, not only did you get them fired, but then forced them to send you an apology letter, that's kind of corrupt. Because you use your power of office to do that. No one else would have been able to do that if they weren't a sitting senator with the connections that Jim Inhofe has to do that. He got to keep his license. He didn't get reprimanded. He landed on the wrong runway with construction workers on it, bounced right over them. They thought they were going to die. And he had them fired and had them send him an apology letter. That's Jim Inhofe. That's the level of cowardice that you get with Jim Inhofe, by the way. That is all on him. And it's so corrupt. It's just so corrupt. And then, but really, when I look at James Lankford against that, he doesn't even come close. James Lankford really is the poster boy for conservative cowardice. He really is. I mean, that guy cries about everything. He cries about his religion. There's not Christian over here. And he cries about, they're blocking our bills when they're, blocked how many of ours? I mean, how many Democrat bills were blocked by Mitch McConnell? Hundreds? And then he wants to cry about one being blocked. Oh, no, he does. He cries about one being blocked. Wow, they're blocking 400 plus bills from the Democrats. Comes out and just cries like a pansy. But that's James Lankford. I mean, come on, look at him, man. I mean, he's got that weird looking face and that pencil neck. And that guy's not standing up to nobody. Come on. He isn't. And he isn't. This is the poster boy for conservatives. Yeah, this coward. And he shows it so well, especially now that he can't stop using the NRCC talking point, trademark talking point, and you've seen it from all of it. It's not just Lankford. The reckless tax and spending spree. I'll say that again. Reckless tax and spending spree. That's all you got to say. They all have it. Every one of them. Jim Inhofe, James Lankford, Bice, Hearn, Tom Cole. Oh yeah, man. Reckless tax and spending spree. Where do you think they got that? You think they made that up and just started using it? No, man. It's a bulleted talking point. These people don't have an original thought in their head. They got to have people tell them what to do. It comes over a fax machine every morning. It's exactly what they're doing. So when I see all this stuff that they're posting, and I look at it, and I'm like, you guys are just incredulous. You don't even care anymore that you look like cowards, that you're crying in public. They don't care. And it really baffles me how Republicans and conservatives think this is good strategy and is going to win them votes, going for the sympathy vote. These mean old Democrats. And then we're going to use these boogeyman words like socialist. Oh, and they all do that one. They're socialist. Doesn't even know the meaning of the word, but Jim Inhofe's going to use it. Oh, and Lankford's going to use it all the time too, right? Socialist this and socialist boogeyman words just to get their people scared. So scared that, they'll want to send them money and vote for them. Because that's what that's about. So, and they can't stop it with it. They just can't stop using these boogeyman words that really have no meaning other than to rile up their base, scare their base, and then they can turn it into some kind of protection racket. Hey, I'm James Lankford. Send your money to my leadership PAC. Yeah, my leadership PAC. He's got one of the largest leadership PACs of anyone in Congress. You know what a leadership PAC does? It pays their personal expenses. It's not part of their campaign. It's a leadership PAC. It's different from the campaign, but it helps them pay their expenses and do all their trips and stuff. So when James goes on TV on One American Network to pay for that travel, he's using a leadership PAC to do it. That's probably what it's for. He's got one of the biggest ones. So that's what this is all about. It's all about scaring their people into sending them money and then hopefully going to vote for him in the election. But more likely, just send them the money. And that's where we're at today with our congressional leaders. They go to Washington and do on our behalf what they're supposed to do. Like Mark Wayne Mullen. Oh my gosh, he came out with a deal. This is so blatantly cowardly from Mark Wayne Mullen. He came out and said, they're going to tax your cows $2,300 a head, pulling some wacky QAnon conspiracy theory thing about, emissions from cows and how we want to tax them. Green New Deal, which Green New Deal isn't anything. It's just a set of ideas, and nothing's implemented. So, but makes for a great boogeyman word for conservatives and their cowardly followers. So people like Mark Wayne Mullen are going to use it. So there he is, pulling off some baloney type stuff and getting nailed for it. And then what does he do? Well, he's not going to say anything. He just retreats to some other hill, because he can't defend that one. And that's exactly what he does. I mean, You know, he's put on this persona like he's some kind of badass special forces guy, and then you look him up and you're like, dude, you've been in 3 fights, you lost 1, and then you never served in the armed forces. So there you go. He's just got this profile that looks decent, but he really hasn't done crap. And so that's Mark Wayne Mullen. You know, the guy who looks so tough, but he's really just a little cowardly weasel. And that's what we have with our congressional leaders going off to Washington, doing our bidding by crying in public, being cowardly, talking about how them illegals are going to get you, and them gun-grabbing liberals are coming for your guns, and how they're coming for your jobs, and they unionized. Oh my God, the thing with Langford and his scary red and black graphics are going to unionize. Oh man, and the scary stuff he puts out. That's what we have with our congressional people, Congress people, and senators going off to Washington, right here on Across the Desk. We'll see you next week.